Takumi is unexpectedly summoned to another world, finding himself standing before the goddess Nolan. However, the first thing she does is apologize sincerely, explaining that it was all a huge mistake. When the summoning spell is cast, it randomly selects individuals from Earth to become heroes in the new world. Takumi's life had been going well, and he was never meant to be summoned, but an error during the spell dragged him here along with the others. The mistake is blamed on the Holy Sidonia Empire, who recklessly activated the forbidden summoning spell. Because of this, Takumi was not sent to Sidonia like the other heroes, but instead to Nolan. Takumi asks Nolan if she can send him back to Earth, given that he was brought here by mistake. Unfortunately, Nolan explains that she cannot. Out of frustration over Sidonia's actions, Nolan had erased the summoning spell from the world's magic laws, making it impossible for anyone to move between worlds anymore. Worse yet, Takumi's original body had perished in the process, leaving him as a disembodied spirit. Panicking at the realization that he's a ghost, Takumi is reassured by Nolan that she has a plan. While she can't send him back, she can give him a new body and allow him to become a citizen of this world. As an apology, Nolan also offers him her blessing to make his new life easier. Takumi, with little choice, agrees to be reborn in this world, which pleases Nolan. She then instructs him to open his status screen to review his new life. Takumi is surprised to find that Nolan has given him a 17-year-old body, even though he's actually 40 years old. Nolan brushes off his concerns about the minor details and urges him to choose a job class. Takumi, not wanting to fight, opts for a production-based job rather than a combat class. Nolan then implants the job into his soul, along with several other beneficial blessings. She sends him on his way, forgetting to provide him with any tutorials. Takumi crashes into a forest upon his rebirth, and after picking himself up, checks his reflection in a nearby river. He's now a completely different person, with no memory of his old body. Inside the bag Nolan left for him, Takumi finds food rations and money, ensuring that he won't starve. His status screen reveals that Nolan has equipped him with many useful skills, including elemental magic. Curious, Takumi tests out his new powers by forming a water ball in his hand. He quickly learns that all the elements work in the same way, and he can control them with ease. Now that he understands his magic, Takumi decides to head to the nearest village. On his way, Takumi stumbles across a stick lying in the path. Using his appraisal skill, he identifies it as Trent wood, a material useful for crafting magic staves and spears. Deciding to try out his crafting abilities, he uses his skills to make a spear. He then spends the next hour gathering useful plants nearby, filling his item box with the plants when he realizes they won't fit in his bag. Suddenly, a young girl runs toward him, calling for help. She explains that a monster is chasing her, and Takumi soon sees a massive horned rabbit charging toward them. In a panic, Takumi attempts to defend himself, but in an accidental twist of fate, he ends up stabbing the rabbit in the head, killing it instantly. Surprised by his victory, Takumi realizes it was due to luck, not skill. As a result of the encounter, Takumi gains the job title of warrior, a class he didn't want. After ensuring the girl Molly is unharmed, Takumi learns she was out gathering herbs where she wandered too far from the village. Takumi, feeling it would be wasteful to leave it behind, stashes the rabbit in his item box. Realizing too late that he revealed his ability, he decides there's no turning back. As they approach the village, the other summoned heroes are arriving at Sidonia. Confused and disoriented, they are introduced to Empress Elizabeth, who tells them they have been summoned to save the world. However, one of the heroes, Akana, feels instinctively that Elizabeth cannot be trusted, as her gut tells her the Empress is deceptive. Meanwhile, Takumi and Molly arrive at the village where her parents, Banga and Martha, express gratitude for Takumi's help. Takumi asks if he can stay in the village for a while, as he has nowhere else to go. The couple welcomes him but explains that there is no inn in the village. However, they suggest building him a house, and soon all the villagers gather to start construction. Takumi uses his earth magic to flatten the ground, but using such a large-scale spell drains his mana. The villagers are amazed at his power, and the next morning his house is completed, thanks to his skills in carpentry, blacksmithing, and sewing. Takumi then decides to practice alchemy using ores he gathered to extract metal. He successfully turns iron ore into usable material, but finds that the process consumes a lot of mana, leading him to nearly pass out. He's saved by Martha and Banga, who give him a recovery potion. Despite their warnings, Takumi continues to experiment with his alchemy skills, eventually making useful tools and weapons. Later, Takumi asks Banga for some basic potions to use as templates for his own creations. After making his own potions with herbs he collected, he compares them to Banga's potions. Takumi's version appears more magical, but unsure of its effects, he tests it by building poison tolerance, consuming the potion until he nearly dies, then healing himself. One day, Takumi encounters a massive boar and a poison spider. The boar charges at him, and despite his attempts to defend himself with magic and a spear, nothing works. Just as he's about to be overrun, the spider intervenes, attacking the boar. Takumi, seeing the opportunity, uses alchemy to break down the boar's head, defeating it. The spider is injured, but Takumi heals it, and it ends up becoming his pet, which he names Maple. Returning to the village, Takumi shows off the giant boar and his new pet spider. The villagers are amazed, especially by the fact that he managed to tame such a dangerous creature. Takumi suggests they share the boar meat since it's too much for him to eat alone, and a feast is held in his honor. Banga brings him the valuable leftovers, which can be sold for money in the nearest city, Bolton. Takumi decides that his next destination will be Bolton. Meanwhile, Nolan is quietly pleased to see Takumi evolving, but her assistant questions her true intentions. After all, she gave Takumi a special body, her blessings, and, most importantly, sent him 1 year into the past, before the Sidonia Empire activated its spell. Yet Nolan simply notes that there wasn't any specific reason. The next morning, Takumi wakes up to find himself trapped in a web. He tells Maple, the spider girl, to apologize, but she says she's lonely because he's always busy with work. Feeling guilty, Takumi decides to take a break and spend some time playing with her. However, they're interrupted by Martha, who's stunned by the sight. He quickly reassures her that Maple wasn't trying to eat him, but Martha is more interested in the spider silk. We learn that spider silk is incredibly rare and is typically used to make clothes for nobles. Martha needs Maple to spin a more elastic version of the silk, and although Takumi doubts she'll cooperate, Maple surprises them by doing exactly what Martha asked. Takumi reminds Maple of their promise to play together, but she declines, saying she's now busy, so he heads off to complete his own tasks. It's been a month since he arrived in the village, and although he's grown close to everyone, he knows it's time to move to a bigger city to pursue alchemy. But he's unsure how to break the news to everyone who has been so kind to him. Boone presents Takumi with a new set of armor and even offers to fix his shoes, joking that they'll help him kick harder. Takumi laughs, reminding them he's just an alchemist. Banga arrives as well, and Boone tells Takumi that it'll be lonely without him, but they all understand that he needs to move forward. Banga mentions that a merchant named Paypek will soon be arriving, and that travel arrangements have already been made for Takumi to go with him. Deeply grateful, Takumi thanks them. Later, Takumi runs into Martha, who's carrying parts of a horned rabbit. Although the meat tastes great, she says it has to be discarded due to a lack of proper facilities. Takumi offers to purify it with his magic, surprising her with the revelation that he can use light magic. She urges him to keep it a secret. Those who can use light magic are rare, and even mid-level users can earn a fortune. Over the next few days, Takumi quietly helps develop the village using his powers, wanting to give back before he leaves. Eventually, Paypek arrives, surprised by the village's rapid development. Banga introduces him to Takumi, and before they leave, he gives Banga a healing potion, one of 100 he left at Takumi's home. Martha and the villagers gather to see him off. They present Takumi with a cloak made of maple silk. Touched, he promises to treasure it. Paypek notices Takumi's deep bond with the villagers. One of his guards, Heath, is moved to tears, while another, Real, teases him for acting like an old man. Paypek introduces them as the Lion Fang adventuring party, and Takumi realizes they're his escorts. The group asks Takumi about his luggage, and he mentions he has a pet spider. When they peek inside, Maple surprisingly warms up to their third member, Bogar, making the rest jealous. Amid the laughter, Paypek asks if Takumi has more potions for sale, but before he can respond, the carriage suddenly halts. They're ambushed by goblins. The Lion Fang members spring into action, excited to deal with the monsters. Takumi is terrified. This is his first real encounter with goblins. Paypek reassures him that it's a common danger for merchants. The party defeats the goblins, though Real notes it took longer than expected. 3 days later, they finally arrive in Bolton, a city in the Barkula Kingdom. Takumi is overwhelmed by how different it is from the village. He heads to the Adventurers Valkyries Guild with the Lion Fang to report the completed escort mission. Takumi tells the receptionist he wants to join the Alchemists Guild, but she whispers that there's no official branch in the city. Most people just register with the Adventurers Guild and use the guild card as a general ID. It only remains valid if the holder completes at least one quest a month. Takumi registers both himself and Maple. The receptionist is shocked to see such a dangerous pet, but processes it anyway. Later, Takumi visits Paypek's headquarters to sell his potions. Paypek offers to buy everything for around 7 million yen. Takumi is thrilled, though Paypek admits he's underpaying a bit since Takumi is still unknown in the market. Suspicious but trusting his gut, Takumi decides to accept the deal. Paypek then recommends a rental house with a built-in workshop, perfect for an alchemist. Takumi is surprised when they reach the place. It's a mansion. He jokes that it must be haunted, but Thomas, Paypek's assistant, assures him it's not. While exploring the city, Takumi smells a horrible stench. Thomas explains that nobles use ancient magical purifiers from dungeons to manage sewage, but commoners can't afford them. Occasionally, priests are hired to clean it, but mostly people just endure the smell. The next day, Takumi moves into his mansion and gets to work building a toilet. Using materials from Papek's company and his magic, he successfully purifies the waste system, leveling up both his alchemy and light magic in the process. Exhausted, he drinks a potion to recover. Just then, he hears a scream. Papek has been caught in Maple's web, but to everyone's surprise, Papek finds it cozy rather than threatening. Takumi still apologizes, and Papek shrugs it off. He's far more interested in the toilet, amazed by its cleanliness and functionality. He asks Takumi if he can use light magic. Remembering Martha's warning, Takumi begs him to keep it a secret. Papek agrees, under one condition. Takumi must make 100 more toilets. Overwhelmed, Takumi thinks of hiring help. Papek suggests getting a slave, as slave contracts are sealed by magic, ensuring secrecy. They also provide reliable household help and protection. Papek also explains that Takumi's affinity for light magic means he's chosen by the Church of Divine Light, the dominant religious power in the Holy Empire of Sidonia. But Takumi knows the church exploits light magic users, so they must keep his identity secret. Takumi is reluctant to use slaves, but he acknowledges the workload.
Prince Lloyd, a weak magician, is killed in front of everyone because his magic is the weakest, but he is reincarnated and becomes God. The anime starts with our hero, Lloyd, being utterly humiliated in front of a group of nobles. They laugh hysterically as he's forced to cast a spell before meeting his doom. He casts the weakest, slowest spell imaginable, and it doesn't even faze the nobles, causing them to laugh even harder. Just when things are looking dire, a royal goon decides to end it all with a fireball aimed straight at Lloyd's face. However, instead of feeling despair or rage, Lloyd is strangely exhilarated by the pain, as he's always dreamed of having this much power. He's totally into it until he suddenly vanishes in a puff of smoke, leaving nothing behind. To everyone's surprise, Lloyd wakes up in a completely new world, surrounded by a group of girls. He begins flexing his magical abilities and putting on a dramatic show of power just to look cool. As the story unfolds, Lloyd discovers that he's the 7th prince of a kingdom, and the capital is absolutely thrilled to have him. Years pass, and Lloyd grows up in a peaceful and prosperous kingdom, though he continues to be a bit of a troublemaker, much to the frustration of his maids, who have a hard time tracking him down, especially since he looks like a girl for some reason. One day, an old man, who's part of the royal staff, wonders if it's worth connecting with the youngest prince, since Lloyd has little chance of inheriting the throne. But the old man soon reveals some shocking news. Lloyd is a magical prodigy who started casting spells literally right after birth. In fact, he even refused to nurse from his mother, showing just how much of a gentleman he is. Oh, and he launched a fireball the moment he was born, earning him the title of the Father of Sorcery. However, there's a twist. Lloyd is actually just a regular guy from his past life who's been reborn as the 7th prince. Now, in this new life, he's on a quest to gather more magical knowledge. One day, while browsing through a poisonous spellbook, his maid wife Silpha, who's not just a maid, but also a badass swordsmanship instructor, finds him and snatches the book away. Silpha has been teaching him how to fight with a sword, and to everyone's shock, Lloyd is already keeping up with her. Despite his progress, Lloyd dismisses it as a waste of time, since he has little chance of becoming king. However, Silpha insists that a royal should be skilled with a sword, too. Trying to show off, Lloyd performs a move that impresses Silpha, but secretly, he's using cheat-level control magic to direct her attacks. Being the skilled sword fighter that she is, Silpha immediately notices something's off and beats him with a flawless move. She's impressed that Lloyd is using 2 spells at once, a feat even experienced mages struggle with, though Lloyd isn't about to admit he's actually using 4 spells. Later, while taking a bath, Lloyd's 2 personal maids inform him about the Forbidden Library, where a demon named Grimoire is sealed in a book. Lloyd is instantly excited about the idea of forbidden magic, and that night, he sneaks out using his invisibility spell to avoid the guards. The library door is sealed by the 10 most powerful mages, but Lloyd opens it effortlessly, as if it were a child's toy. Once inside, he dives headfirst into the magical world of books. But then, surprised, the demon Grimoire awakens and tries to intimidate him. The demon offers Lloyd gold in exchange for freeing him, but Lloyd dismisses the offer, saying he's seen better gold at a dollar store. Grimoire sweetens the deal by offering ancient magic knowledge, and Lloyd eagerly accepts. After unsealing the demon with his magic key, Grimoire immediately tries to attack, but Lloyd already has a barrier in place. Grimoire starts throwing fireballs, which excites Lloyd, even though one of them burns his finger because for him, pain equals progress. Lloyd begins synchronizing multiple spells, growing more and more hyped about learning new magic. Grimoire tries to escape, but Lloyd traps him with barriers everywhere. The demon is stuck, and Lloyd decides to end things by casting an annihilation spell. But somehow, Grimoire survives, since demons can't die from magic. Lloyd then restores the underground library in the blink of an eye, impressing Grimoire with his godlike power. Grimoire, now seeing the potential in Lloyd, decides to join his squad. But since his appearance is too menacing, he transforms into a cute little goat to charm Lloyd. Lloyd, now with an adorable pet demon goat, agrees to let him stick around, but warns him not to mess with him. With a bottomless pit of mana at his disposal, Lloyd, Grimoire the demon goat, and an endless array of magical shenanigans set the stage for the kingdom to watch out. This kid is about to rewrite the rulebook on what it means to be a royal.